Alright, here's a sample of a set of lenses that we had made up to demonstrate an anti-reflective and what the advantages of having it are. The lens on the left here has an anti-reflective on it, whereas the lens on the right is just a standard hard-coated lens. And I'm sure you can see that there's a lot more light reflection off of the surface on the right than there is on the left. There is still a little bit of residual. We'll flip it over and you can basically kind of see the same thing. It does cut down a lot of the light reflection. What's happening is it's allowing light to pass through, more light to pass through the lens than be reflected off of the surface. What we found is that when it first was introduced, as far as anti-reflectives, the whole selling point was that it was a cosmetic for the lenses. When you had your picture taken, you wouldn't have the flash reflecting off of the glasses if you were wearing them. But what they found out, and especially when they made improvements to the anti-reflective, is that it actually works out really well, especially for nighttime driving. It reduces the starburst effects of oncoming headlights and street lamps, and even the reflection of, let's say, on a rainy road. It definitely helps out quite a bit. So the advancements that they've made as far as the anti-reflectives they actually are much more durable. When they first came out, it was just a standard anti-reflective. It was a treatment that was done on a finished lens. So, for example, this lens here would just be, it would be sprayed or it would be dipped on to the actual surface, front and back of the lens, and they didn't stay very well. They would actually start to erode off of the surfaces of the lens. As soon as you started getting small scratches, they would just immediately start to erode, and people were very frustrated with them. They've come so far with the actual technology, and they made huge improvements on the durability of the anti-reflectives. The ones that we offer range from standard up to more of the higher end, more durable lenses. A standard anti-reflective, again, it is just a surfaced applied treatment. So it is just a layer that's on the front side and the back side. Just as a note, for polarized lenses, we do not apply an anti-reflective on the front surface. The AR Council of America recommends that you do not put an anti-reflective on the fronts of the lenses because it can actually start to inhibit some of the polarization factor of the lenses. So for the most part, all we do is the backside only for our polarized lenses. And if you are purchasing the premium anti-reflectives, what you are still getting are the thermal hard coats, and that's very important as far as scratch protection. So even though you're only seeing the anti-reflective layers on the back on a polarized, you still have that increased scratch protection on the front. And as far as the premium anti-reflectives, some brand names that a lot of people are familiar with, like Zeiss Karat Advantage or the Crizal Alizé or any other Crizal line, the way that they're treated is the original hard coats of the lens have to be removed, and then different types of thermal hard coat layers are applied, and then the layers of the anti-reflective are actually start to put on the lens. The advantage to this is that as they're being cured, they almost become interlocked with the actual surface of the material that they're being applied to, whether it's plastic, polycarbonate, Trivex, high index. So they're much more durable, so they have much less chance of crazing, cracking, or eroding away. It almost never happens. It happens occasionally, but that's more of an issue with probably the facility that's actually doing the anti-reflective. The other thing with the premiums is they have additional layers of hydrophobic and oleophobic treatments. And these are good as far as making it a much more slick surface. If you take a standard anti-reflective, or actually any anti-reflective, a lot of people, what they find is that, oh, I can see my fingerprints. You know, I touch the lens, it's a little frustrating. Well, the reason you can see the fingerprints easier is because you don't have the light being reflected off and actually hiding it. So the fingerprints are actually still there. It's just they're a little bit easier to see. Now the hydrophobic and the oleophobic treatment, what it does is it makes it a much more slick surface so that the fingerprints, the dust, the smudges, the dirt, they don't adhere to the lens as easily. Makes it much easier to actually wipe and clean off. So you're not sitting there wiping it over and over and over again, trying to get your lenses clean. So again, what we use mostly in the lab, we do a lot of Zeiss. Zeiss is more of a blue-based anti-reflective, whereas, say, the Crizal line has more of a greenish hue. All of the Verilux that we offer will come basically with the Crizal product because they are both from the same company, so we do keep them the same. But a lot of our other lenses, we will try and use the Zeiss anti-reflective, which is a little more on the blue side. They do have a gold as well. Not too many people are keen on the gold. You can ask for it, which is fine. We also have one more, which is called Ice, and it is a clear AR, so it does not have that residual, almost like soap bubble look, where it's either greenish or bluish, like the Crizal products or the Zeiss products. But it makes it really hard to actually identify the fact that it actually has an anti-reflective on it. But we have had people request it. I don't know what the major advantage would be. Personally, I started out being a little more favorable towards the greenish hue, like the Crizal products. But then as I started working more with Zeiss anti-reflectives, started becoming a little more, leaning more towards that bluish color because they've actually held up really well. One of the drawbacks to the thermal anti-reflectives, the higher end anti-reflectives, is they are a little more susceptible to heat. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you don't keep them in a high heat source. Crizal products are infamous for actually crazing, and it's not because of the actual product itself is failing. It's because it's near way too much heat. And I see a lot of opticians, what they do is, especially on like a plastic frame such as this, is they'll start to try and actually do some of the adjustments, and they'll actually apply heat either in here or on the sides, and the heat gets a little bit too close to the actual lenses and starts to separate the thermal bonding layers of the anti-reflective. And for whatever reason, the Crizal products seem to be, that's its biggest Achilles heel, is that it will do that more readily than, say, a Zeiss product.